My name is Su Yao. That night, I got drunk in the bar. When I woke up the next morning, I found myself in a strange man's room. I was scared instantly. I didn't know what happened between me and this man last night. Part 1. You're awake. A deep and attractive male voice came. Man? How could there be a strange man in my room? I panicked and wrapped the quilt tightly around me. Seeing that the man did not make any extra movements, I slowly opened the quilt and stuck my head out to look around. This was not the hotel room we stayed in last night. I tried to see the man's true face, but I saw him sitting quietly on the sofa opposite. I was stunned. Shun Qingze, business legend, CEO of Shun Group. How could I be in his room? I remember drinking at a bar with my bestie, then going back to my room, but waking up the next day and not being there. Seeing Shun Qingze's face from such a close distance, he is so handsome. I seem to be back to the time when I first saw him in college. Shun Qingze, the president of Shun Group, didn't chase me away? I didn't care about that anymore. I tiptoed to untie the quilt wrapped around me, got out of bed, put on my shoes, picked up the bag at the head of the bed and whispered, "Mr. Shun, I'm sorry for last night. You know me?" Ah, I thought to myself, isn't this the point? I paused and said, "The president of Shun Group, everyone should know him." Shun Qingze looked at me and said coldly, "If you can't drink when you're out there, don't drink." "Thank you for reminding me, Mr. Shun. It's just this time. I won't do it again." I thought to myself, after this experience, I won't drink the divine wine next time. Sorry to bother you, Mr. Shun. I'll go find my friend first, etc. I was about to go out the door when Shun Qingze called me. I asked, "Mr. Shun, is there anything else?" Shun Qingze stared at me. "I heard you say a few drunken words last night. Your parents are arranging a blind date for you. Miss Su, are you planning to get married?" Oh? I was confused, tightened my grip on the bag in my hand, avoided Shun Qingze's gaze, and nodded. "I turned 25 this year, and my parents have this idea. If I meet the right person, I should be able to do it." The next second, Shun Qingze gave the reason for the explosion. "Miss Su, do you think I'm suitable? Why not consider marrying me?" What? My pupils widened and I was stunned. I almost dropped the bag in my hand. Marrying Shun Qingze? These words were like a hurricane, leaving me completely confused. But I soon realized that Shun Qingze also knew me. "Last night, your file was transferred to my phone. After you graduated from a university, you taught at your alma mater, a city #1 middle school. We are alumni of high school and university, and your parents teach at a university." Shun Qingze said solemnly, "The Shun family does not need a family marriage. My family hopes that I can find a suitable partner to marry. Your family background and personal experience are very suitable for me. If you also think it is suitable, it would be great for us to get married." I took a moment to digest this. After all the embarrassment last night, when I woke up, I found that I had a new partner to marry, and it was Shun Qingze. This was too magical. Shun Qingze saw me standing there, picked up a file bag, walked in front of me, and covered me completely. I looked up and saw Shun Qingze handing me a file bag. I asked, "What is this?" "My latest medical report." I thought it was a prenuptial agreement, but I didn't expect it to be this. I didn't rush to take it and asked seriously, "Why me?" "Suitable." I said, "We are not familiar with each other. Is it too hasty for Mr. Shin to determine that I am suitable based on the file information?" Shun Qingze said, "You go on a blind date, and the other person is also someone you don't know. I can't refute that. As for not being familiar with each other, if you feel it's a good match, you'll have plenty of opportunities to get to know each other after marriage." I silently raised a string of question marks in my mind. Even if it was a blind date, one should get to know the other first and then get married. Why was it the other way around with Shun Qingze? Shun Qingze handed me the file bag in his hand and said, "Think about it. I don't deny that I still miss the person I once had a crush on, and I feel like I'm about to be knocked out by this sudden incident." Just as I was about to speak, the cell phone in my bag rang. I took out my phone in a panic and saw the word "Mom" on it. Chapter 2. We got married in a flash. "Miss Su, please answer the phone first," Shun Qingze said lightly when he saw the caller ID. I didn't want to answer the call, But Xing's tone didn't allow for rejection. I had no choice but to turn around and answer the call. Hey, Mom, you're really punctual with your daily phone calls. My mother's voice came from the other end of the phone. That's because I have something important to remind you of. I sighed. You're talking about asking me to go on a blind date again. You're making it sound so serious. Isn't this something that deserves to be taken seriously? Mom's voice was filled with anxiety. Mom, I'm really not that worried about getting married, so you and Dad don't have to worry about it. You're 25 and you don't even have a boyfriend, and you still say don't worry us? They've already made an appointment. Go meet them after you return to City A. I replied helplessly. The last time I went on a blind date, I used the excuse of going to the bathroom after dinner and ran away after paying the bill. Do you still remember that? If I do that again this time, you and Dad will be really angry. Dad will never be angry with me. It's you who educates me every time. I muttered softly. What are you mumbling about? There was a hint of dissatisfaction in my mother's voice. Nothing. I just want to ask if this arrangement can be canceled. Do you think that's possible? Unless you have a boyfriend. But do you? My heart moved. My mind worked quickly. I turned my head to look at Xingza and whispered, Please, do me a favor. Xingza smiled secretly and said cooperatively, Hello, Auntie. I said to the person on the other end of the phone, Mom, do you believe it now? Haha, are you just dragging a boy to talk? Do you think I don't watch short videos? If you really have a boyfriend, bring him back so that your dad and I can see him with our own eyes. Stop playing tricks, it's useless. Mom, don't we have even the most basic trust between mother and daughter? Do you think I'm making a joke? Stop talking nonsense. I am accompanying your father in City B for an academic exchange and cannot return to City A for the time being. Behave yourself this time. I have something to do, so I will hang up first. Go and have fun first. After hanging up the phone, I complained, You are really my real mother. You called me every day to remind me of my vacation. How can I have fun? Xingza listened to my mumbling and took the opportunity to say, If you don't want to go on blind dates anymore, then consider my proposal carefully. Hearing his voice, I pulled back my thoughts and started to think seriously. A marriage partner like Xingza should be the dream of 90% of people. I remember watching TV with my parents once and happened to see an interview with Xingza. My parents praised him a lot. If I really get together with Xingza, they will definitely not object. I asked in a very soft voice, What should I do? Miss Sue, have you considered it? Yeah. I nodded in response. Xingza handed me the medical examination report and said, Miss Sue, you can take a look. I am in good health in all aspects and there is no problem. My lips twitched slightly as I took the medical report. Hearing him emphasize it so much, it seemed as if he was afraid that I would misunderstand that he had a hidden disease. Of course, I couldn't really open it to check, so I asked him, Do I need to give you a copy too? Need not. Well, what else? For example, Mr. Shun has a big family and a big business, like a prenuptial agreement? Xingza said solemnly, We don't need these messy things when we get married. I thought to myself, they are talking about marriage so quickly. My wealth is not comparable to Xingza. Did I say something wrong? I then asked, Then, what do we do next? Go back to City A and get the certificate. Ah, I was shocked. Today? Now? Has a problem? No. It's just that I'm on vacation with my good friends. I said this, but in my heart I thought the marriage was already sudden enough, and it would be too fast to just go ahead and get the marriage certificate. Xingza glanced at his watch. It's 9:10 in the morning now. My flight back to City A is at 10 o'clock. I'll have a meeting at the company and then fly to City B for a business trip in the evening. It's expected to take half a month. With me, decisions are never delayed. He continued, Once this is done, you can come back and continue your vacation. You can have fun as much as you want, and you don't have to bother with future blind dates. I thought to myself, this seems to be the case. How can I have fun thinking about going back home for a blind date every day? Well, okay. Give me your ID card and I'll have someone book a flight for you. I opened my bag and handed him my ID. City Airport, on a flight to City A. I sat next to Xinqingza and heard the announcement that the flight was about to take off. I was still dizzy and had never thought that I would get married at such a fast pace, and the object was Xinqingza. Chapter 3: Our Wedding Rings. An hour and a half later, the plane landed at the airport in City A. As I got off the plane, I checked my phone messages and found that Wendy hadn't replied to my message yet. I knew she was still lying in bed. Contact information added. Suddenly, Xinqingza handed the phone to me. I was stunned for a moment, took his phone, and entered my own phone number. The next moment, my phone rang. It was Xinqingza calling. Saved. I hung up the phone. Yes. Xinqingza nodded and continued. I have to go back to the company to handle some business. Next, go back and prepare the information. I will call you after 2 p.m., and then I will pick you up to go to the Civil Affairs Bureau, okay? Okay. I nodded in agreement. Xinqingza lowered his eyes and looked at me, saying seriously, before we go to the Civil Affairs Bureau, you can still consider it and you can regret it at any time. Once we get the certificate, we will be together for the rest of our lives, and you will not have room for regrets. After listening to what he said, I raised my head to meet his gaze and answered firmly, "Oh, I know." Walking out of the airport, there were 2 identical luxury business cars parked opposite the exit. When the 2 drivers saw Xinqingza, they immediately stepped forward to greet him. "Mr. Sean." Xinqingza pointed at one of the drivers and said to me, "I have to go to the company first. He will be responsible for taking you home." I saw that he had already made arrangements, so I nodded and agreed. Xinqingza got on the car in front, and I followed him on the car behind. Since I graduated and started working, I haven't lived with my parents. Last year, I bought an apartment close to number 1 middle school, which is convenient for work. But now I have to go back to my parents to get my household registration book, so I told the driver the address of the community. Half an hour later, at the entrance of the community, I asked the driver to stop the car and go do his own thing. The driver stopped the car and got out to open the door for me. "Thank you," I said. The driver said, "Ms. Su, please contact Mr. Shin later. I'll be leaving first." Yeah. I went straight upstairs. No one was home. My parents were in City B. I went straight to my parents' room and took out the household registration book from the drawer. Sitting on the sofa in the living room, staring at the household registration book in my hand, I felt elated. Was I really going to get the marriage certificate this afternoon? Ding! A series of mobile phone message alert sounds came. I picked up my phone and saw that it was Wendy, who had just woken up and messaged me. "Wendy, what's going on?" "Wendy, back to City A? When I woke up, you were gone." "Wendy, quick, reply. Our vacation isn't over yet. Yao Yao, why did you go back alone?" "Wendy, you'd better give me a reasonable explanation." "Su Yao, roll your eyes. JPG, have you noticed that my luggage is still in the room, untouched?" "Su Yao, and, my dear sister, didn't you notice that I didn't sleep with you last night?"
Wendy,
I'm still dizzy from that drink last night. So where did you sleep last night? You didn't really go back, did you?" "Su Yao, I really went back to City A. I can't explain it in a few words. I'll tell you in detail this afternoon." "Wendy, can't tell? Come back this afternoon?" "Yao Yao, are you really okay?" "Su Yao, it's really nothing. I think there's a happy event. Let's talk about it when we meet in the afternoon." "Happy event?" Wendy was confused. After finishing my chat with Wendy, I looked at the time. It was almost 12:30. I put down my phone and went to the kitchen. I found that there were only eggs left in the refrigerator, so I simply cooked some egg noodles for lunch. Then, I went back to my room, cleaned up, and put on some light makeup. Just after 2 o'clock in the afternoon, the phone rang. It was Xinqingza. "Hello, Miss Su." His low and magnetic voice came from the other end of the phone, like a small stone falling into a pool of calm spring water, causing ripples. "Hello, Mr. Sean." I responded. "Miss Su, are you sure?" "All right. Well, Miss Su, go out. I'll wait for you at the gate of the community." After hanging up the phone, I took the household registration book and went out. When I arrived at the gate of the community, I saw Xinqingza standing there in a well-dressed suit. As expected, no matter where he stood, he was the focus. We got in the car, and went straight to the Civil Affairs Bureau. Application, review, photo taking, registration, and certificate collection were all done in one go. Just as Shen Qingzi said, there was no drag at all. Walking out of the Civil Affairs Bureau, holding the marriage certificate in my hand, I felt a lot of emotions. After one day, I was actually married. Shen Qingzi looked at me and asked, "Are you going to the airport now?" I came to my senses, put the marriage certificate in my bag, and said to Shen Qingzi, "I'll go home first, and then go to the airport by myself." "Mr. Shen, I think you have something else to do, so you go first." "Wait a minute, don't be in a hurry." As Shen Qingzi spoke, he took out an exquisite ring box, opened it, and said to me, "Hand, stretch it out." I saw the beautiful wedding ring in the ring box in Shen Qingzi's hand and was in a trance for a moment. When did he prepare the ring? Did he even know the size of the ring on my finger? After a pause, I still reached out my hand. Shen Qingzi took out the diamond ring and put it on my ring finger. The ring was neither too big nor too small, just right. "Help me put it on." Shen Qingzi's voice interrupted my thoughts. I took out the men's ring from the ring box and put it on Shen Qingzi's ring finger. "I have to rush back to the company to deal with some things, and then go to City B in the evening. I'm leaving first." "Yeah." I nodded. "Remember to approve my friend request," Shen Qingzi reminded. "Okay." I immediately approved his friend request. After Shen Qingzi left, I left too. I asked the driver to take me back to my parents' place, put the household registration book back, and then asked the driver to take me to the airport. I bought the nearest flight to S-City. Chapter 4. My best friend was surprised that I got married so quickly. I just got off the plane and was about to take a taxi to the hotel, but I found a driver waiting at the exit with a sign with my name on it. This was the car sent by the hotel to pick me up. Without thinking too much, I got in the car and soon arrived at the seaside hotel where my bestie Wendy and I were on vacation. I entered the elevator while talking on the phone with Wendy. When I reached the door of the room, it opened and Wendy came to greet me in her pajamas. "Oh my God, Yao Yao. You were dressed so formally and put on makeup, and you sent a message saying that everything was fine. What's going on? You said there was a happy event, so?" Wendy asked in surprise. I entered the room, closed the door, and calmly replied, "Well, there is a happy event. I am getting married." Wendy spat out the water she had just drunk. She looked like she was struck by lightning. "What? Getting married?" Seeing Wendy's reaction, I showed her the wedding ring on my hand and said seriously, "Yes, we're getting married. We're going back to City A to get the marriage certificate." Wendy grabbed my hand and stared at my ring finger carefully. "Are you serious? Who are you married to?" I took out the marriage certificate from my bag and handed it to Wendy. Wendy took it immediately, opened it, and looked at it. Her eyes widened and almost popped out of her head. "Shen Qingzi? Shen Qingzi from Shen Group? What happened last night? What happened this morning? The seal on the marriage certificate doesn't look fake. And the wedding ring, Yao Yao. Are you really married to Shen Qingzi?" I carefully told Wendy what happened this morning when I woke up and appeared in Shen Qingzi's room, telling her everything from beginning to end. Wendy said thoughtfully, "Yao Yao, haven't you always liked Shen Qingzi? There is really no coincidence in this world. Although things have developed a little too quickly, and Shen Qingzi's wealth is not comparable to ours, my Yao Yao has both talent and good figure, and we are definitely a good match. However, for someone like Shen Qingzi, who lives at the top of the pyramid, to be able to do marriage so neatly, with just a word of suitable, and then solve it so swiftly?" Wendy continued, muttering, "Yao Yao, you haven't told your uncle and aunt about this, right? And what about the blind date that your aunt arranged for you? What are you going to do next?" I lay on the sofa, exhausted after a day of work. I looked at Wendy and said, "He probably hasn't told his parents yet. Let's talk about it later. As for blind dates, my parents said that I don't need to go on blind dates because I already have a partner. I definitely won't go now that I have one." Wendy said, "Yao Yao, you don't just have a partner, you're married. Let's not talk about this for now. Hurry up and change your clothes and pack up. I'll take a rest and we'll go out and play later." "Okay." Wendy took out the clothes she was going to wear when she went out and chatted with me. "Yao Yao, I saw your message saying you were going back to City A, and I thought you were planning to aboard our annual vacation with best friends. I'm not like you. As a teacher, I have winter and summer vacations every year, and I always use my annual vacation. I lay on the sofa and replied, after the summer vacation, I have more time. I cook 3 meals a day. Who comes to eat every day? You didn't say the food is not delicious. No, I mean, since you've already obtained your marriage certificate, shouldn't you go on a honeymoon with Mr. Shun from your family? If that's the case, I can tolerate it. He seems to be very busy. Oh, you should hurry up and clean up. Okay. Wendy stopped talking. As for Shin Qingza, she and I grew up together, so how could she not know my feelings? I was naturally happy to marry Shun Qingza. As far as she knew, Shun Qingza had never been involved in any scandals. Although the marriage was indeed quite sudden, I would definitely be very happy. After a while, Wendy said, Yao Yao, I'm done. Put on your shoes and let's go out. Let's eat something first, and then go to the beach to watch the sunset and take pictures. Okay. I responded, stood up from the sofa, saw the wedding ring on my hand, thought about it, and decided to take it off. I put it together with the marriage certificate in the suitcase and changed my clothes. Yao Yao, let's go. Wendy came over with a small bag on her back. She noticed that I was not wearing the wedding ring on my hand, so she asked, Yao Yao, why did you take it off? I said, we are going out to play now. I am afraid I might lose it if I am not paying attention, so keep it first. Yeah, that's true, Wendy said, taking the room card, and the two of them went out and had fun. City A, Shun Group Building, top floor, President's office. Shin Qingza sat at his desk, staring at his mobile phone, his fingers sliding across the screen from time to time, flipping through the photos one after another. The photo was exactly what Su Yao had just posted on her moments. At this time, there was a knock on the door. Enter. The assistant pushed the door open and saw Mr. Shan staring at his phone. Mr. Shan rarely played with his phone, so, Mr. Shun, the driver is already waiting downstairs. We should leave for the airport. Shin Qingza was not in a hurry. His eyes were fixed on the photo on his phone. He asked the assistant in front of him, I remember assistant Bai is also married. Bai Qing nodded and replied, yes, Mr. Shun. He thought, didn't Mr. Shun also get married with Miss Su today? Mr. Shin asked him this so suddenly. Could it be that there is something going on between him and his new wife? Shin Qingza asked, after you and your wife got married, did you wear your wedding ring all the time? Just this question? Bai Cheng said truthfully, I wear it, unless it is inconvenient. I will take it off first, and I usually wear it. She took it off when it was inconvenient. Shin Qingza thought. She was on vacation, playing with her good friends, taking intimate photos, smiling happily. There should be no inconvenience. So why did she take it off? Does she not want to tell outsiders that she is married? She shared several updates on her moments, but she didn't share the fact that she was getting married to him. She even took off the wedding ring that he had put on her. Shin Qingza sighed deeply. Bai Cheng had good hearing, and although Mr. Shun's sighs and words were not loud, he heard them clearly. It turned out that it was his wife who took off the wedding ring that Mr. Shun had put on today. He originally thought that Mr. Shun got married simply because he was suitable, but now it seems that it is not as simple as he thought. Shin Qingza put away his phone and stood up. Let's go to the airport. Bai Cheng followed immediately. Fortunately, Mr. Shin didn't ask him any more questions, otherwise he really wouldn't know how to speak. Chapter 5. Fun Stories of Newlyweds. Su Yao and Wendy were tired from playing, so they returned to the hotel, took a shower, and lay down on the bed leisurely. Wendy leaned against the head of the bed, playing with her phone, and said to Su Yao, Yao Yao, do you want to call your family? Su Yao shook her head. He went on a business trip to City B. The itinerary was planned in advance. He is very busy at work. We are married. We still have to get used to each other. Let's not disturb him now. As soon as she finished speaking, the WeChat message notification sounded. Su Yao took a look and saw that it was a message from Shin Qingza. Shin Qingza, I have arrived in City B and am on my way to the hotel. Su Yao was a little stunned when she saw the message. Was Shin Qingza telling her that he was safe? She didn't send him a message when she came back from City A. Wasn't that a bit bad? Although they got married quickly, they got the marriage certificate after all, and they were husband and wife. When they were away from home, They should report to each other that they were safe. She thought for a moment and immediately replied, "Okay. Mr. Shun will have work to do tomorrow, so go to bed early." The dialogue box showed the other party is typing, but there was no reply for a while. She was a little worried. Was there something wrong with her reply? Suddenly, a dialogue box popped up with a message. "Shinqingza, is it convenient for a video call?" Suyao was startled, looked up at Wendy lying next to her, and hesitated. "Wendy, he wants to video chat with me and ask if it's convenient for me." Wendy was watching a short video and was stunned for a moment when she heard this. Then she suddenly realized, "Video? Haha, I asked you if you wanted to call him, and you said no. Now he's here by himself, and we haven't done anything bad, so of course it's convenient." Then she got out of bed and said with a smile, "You can video chat with him slowly. I'll lie on the sofa and definitely won't disturb you." Before Suyao could say more, Wendy had already laid down on the sofa. She no longer hesitated and replied with the word convenient. As soon as the message was sent, a pop-up window for a video call appeared. She clicked on the answer button, and Shinqingza's image immediately appeared. Shinqingza was only wearing a white shirt, his tie was off, and 2 buttons on his collar were undone. The simple white shirt looked particularly charming on him. Suyao was a little distracted and couldn't help swallowing her saliva. She looked away in a panic and said hello. "Hello, Mr. Shun." Shinqingza frowned slightly when he heard her call him Mr. Shun. "I have a suggestion." "Suyao, suggestions?" "Mr. Shun, please speak." Shinqingza said seriously, "Don't you think that the way we address each other should be changed?" Suyao blinked and paused. "Change the name?" Shinqingza, "Yes, change the name. We are married now. Don't you think it's inappropriate to always call me Mr. Shun?" Ah, Suyao finally understood, looked at Shinqingza in the video, and asked, "Then, how to change it?" Shinqingza, "My grandparents' generation would call me Xiaozhe, and my parents' generation would just call me by my first name. We are married now. We are husband and wife, and you are my wife. What do you think, given your status, should you call me?" "Wife." Suyao's cheeks burned when she heard the word, and she hesitantly called out after a long while, "Old husband." Shinqingza smiled with satisfaction. "Well, that's good." Suyao felt that the voice in her ear made her feel hot all over, so she quickly changed the subject. "You are going on a business trip to City B, and you still have a lot of work to do tomorrow, so you should rest early." Shinqingza said, "No hurry. Didn't you say that we don't know each other well enough after we get married? More communication will help us get to know each other faster. What do you think?" Suyao, "Well, what to talk about?" Shinqingza, "The photos in the circle of friends are very beautiful." Suyao looked at him in surprise. "Have you seen my circle of friends?" Shinqingza nodded. "I saw it. You and your friend have a very good relationship, right? Judging from the group photo, you are very close." Suyao smiled and said, "Wendy and I grew up together. We went to the same school from kindergarten to college. We are best friends." Shinqingza didn't care much about these, but asked, "I saw the photos in your circle of friends, and you didn't wear a ring on your hand. Is it because the wedding ring I chose doesn't fit your hand, or do you not like it?" Suyao quickly explained, "No, the ring is very beautiful and fits my hand very well. I took it off first because I was afraid that I would lose it accidentally while playing outside." Shinqingza said, "If that's the case, then put it on and don't take it off casually." Suyao agreed, "Okay." The two chatted briefly, said goodnight to each other, and hung up the video. Suyao glanced at her circle of friends, and sure enough, Shinqingza liked her post, but there were so many people who liked it that she didn't notice it before. However, if you just glance at it like this, you can hardly notice whether she is wearing a ring on her hand. And of the 9 photos, only 2 of them have her hands in them. So, Shinqingza clicked on and looked at all the photos she sent. She couldn't help but feel a ripple in her heart, and her feelings towards Shinqingza became more complicated. Although the marriage was very sudden, her love for Shinqingza was unquestionable. However, Shinqingza and her got the marriage certificate because of a sudden oolong incident, and he thought they were suitable for marriage, so he decided to get the certificate without hesitation. However, Shinqingza's performance just now seemed to be more than just suitable. Suyao patted her face and told herself not to think too much. She calmed herself down and stopped thinking too much, then said to Wendy, who was lying on the sofa, "Wendy, I'm done here. Come over and lie down on the bed and sleep." Chapter 6. Not used to calling each other. In a blink of an eye, the one-week vacation trip with Wendy ended. At the airport in City S, we boarded a flight to City A. Wendy fastened her seatbelt, leaned back in her seat, and stretched. "I've had so much fun these past few days, but when I think about going back to work, I feel exhausted." "Yao Yao, I really envy you. Didn't you say you were going to get a promotion?" I laughed. "Besides, what do I have to be envious of? It's already the end of August, and in 2 days it will be September. School will start soon, and I'm not idle either." "I know. Our teacher Sue is very busy. After all, a city #1 high school is the best high school in a city. It's no joke to be able to teach there." Wendy smiled and continued, "By the way, Yao Yao, you and Xingxingza are married. So do you have to move in with him? Live together?" I was a little dazed when I heard this, and then I said, "I decided to buy this house last year because the community is in a good location and close to the school. Besides, he is on a business trip, and this matter has not been discussed yet. Do you want to live with him?" Ah. The scene of living under the same roof and sleeping on the same bed with Xian Qingza instantly emerged in my mind. Wendy saw that I was blushing, so she came closer and deliberately said, "Yao Yao, what are you thinking about? Why are you blushing?" I immediately held my face and denied it. I didn't think about anything." "Yao Yao, you'd better be." "Wendy, you?" "Yao Yao, don't be embarrassed. Let's just say that you had a crush on him before. Now that you two are married, you can come here openly, right?" I whispered. "Xingxingza and I got married in a flash, and we didn't discuss living together. Maybe Xingxingza didn't want to live with me? He thought it was appropriate to marry me, and I didn't think there was anything wrong with it. It would also completely stop my mother from arranging blind dates for me. It doesn't matter whether we live together or not. Let's not worry about it for now." More than an hour later, the plane landed at the airport in City A. We dragged our suitcases out of the airport, and I asked as we walked, "Wendy, do you want to come to my place tonight? Or go home?" Wendy said, "You'd better go home and go to work tomorrow. It's closer to my house, so I can sleep 10 more minutes." As soon as we walked out of the airport exit, we saw a man walking towards us. I recognized him as Shun Qing's driver at a glance. "Master Zhao, why are you here?" I asked in surprise. The driver immediately replied, "Hello, madam. It was arranged by Mr. Shan to pick you up." I remembered that when I was boarding the plane, I sent Shun Qingza a photo of the ticket, saying that I was on the plane, but Shun Qingza didn't reply to me at that time. I took out my phone and looked at WeChat. Shun Qingza replied with a message, "I'll ask the driver to pick you up." At this time, Master Zhao had already picked up our suitcases and put them in the trunk. Wendy sat down with me in the back seat and said softly, "Wow, your family is very thoughtful." I told Master Zhao in front of me the address. "Master Zhao, please take me home first, and then I'll trouble you to take my friend home." Master Zhao replied, "Madam, you are too polite. It is not a bother. This is what I should do. However, Mr. Shun has asked me to take you to Yujing Garden." So, Yujing Garden is the most luxurious villa area in City A. It is undoubtedly the community where Shan Qingza lives. I said, "Master Zhao, please go to the address I gave you." Master Zhao replied, "Okay, then madam, remember to tell Mr. Shan." I responded. Wendy said, "Yao Yao." I knew what Wendy wanted to ask, so I explained before she opened her mouth. "School starts in 2 days, and I have a lot to do. Also, my lesson plans and all teaching materials are on my computer at home, so it's not convenient for me to go there. Let's discuss it when he comes back." Wendy smiled and said, "But we were talking about this topic on the plane, and it seems like he has already thought about it." I nodded without saying anything. I thought to myself, Shun Qingza really had a plan and wanted to live with me. Soon, the car arrived at the community where I live now. I got off the car first, talked to Master Zhao again, said goodbye to Wendy, and went straight into the community, got on the elevator, took out my phone and sent a message to Shan Qingza. "I'm home." I thought about it and continued editing. "School is about to start in 2 days, so I didn't go to your place." Put the phone aside. Shun Qingza probably won't reply so quickly. I took a shower first, changed into comfortable home clothes, and then took out all the clothes in the suitcase and threw them into the washing machine to wash. The flight back was originally in the afternoon, so I packed up and made some food. It was dark after I finished eating. I was lying on the sofa and had just replied to Wendy's message when Shanxing's chat box popped up. Shinxingza, I'm glad you got home safely. Can we have a video call now? I started a video call directly. After the video was connected, Shinxingza said, "Don't you want to live with me?" I was a little confused by his first question and immediately replied, "No, I didn't want to go. I just thought it would be more convenient here, so I didn't go to your place." Shinxing's tone became more serious after hearing this. My home? I paused and hesitated for a moment, but soon understood what Shinxingza meant and said quickly, "Our family." Shinxingza was quite satisfied after hearing these 3 words, and then said, "Is it really just because of convenience that you didn't go? The drive from Eugene Garden to number 1 middle school is within 15 minutes. I explained, "That's not the reason. I have a lot of teaching materials here, and school is about to start here. I thought it would be better to stay here first. We'll look at it when you come back from your business trip." Shinxingza said, "Then I will pick you up when I come back from my business trip." I said, "Yeah," and then said, "I just got back today, and I was a little sleepy after cleaning up. It's getting late now, so you should go to bed early too." "Okay." Shinxingza said, "Good night, my wife." The word wife made me tighten my grip on the phone. Apart from the video call 3 days ago, this was my second video call with Shinxingza. When Shinxingza asked me to change the way I addressed him, he also said that we were married and I was his wife. We've been messaging each other on and off these past 2 days, but this is the first time he's properly called me wife and said good night to me, as he did at this moment. Shinxingza's voice is very attractive. Even when talking on the phone, it sounds good. When I heard her call me wife, my heart was beating like a deer. Chapter 7, First Hand-Holding. Shinxingza's voice was still echoing in my ears. I looked at him in the video, staring at me deeply. I quickly said good night and was about to hang up the call, but Shinxingza spoke again. "That's all?" I lowered my head, feeling a little shy. After marrying Shinxingza, he called me wife, so naturally, but I always felt a little ashamed to call him husband. I adjusted my breathing again, cleared my throat slightly, and said to Shinxingza, "Husband, good night." After saying that, I immediately hung up the video call and fell on the sofa, my mind full of the word husband. My eyes fell on the wedding ring on my hand, and I couldn't help but think that Shinxingza would think it was appropriate to marry me, and he must have some feelings for me. Our married life should not be too bad if we manage it slowly. In a blink of an eye, September 1st, the school started, and I also had to start teaching work for the new semester. I came out of the office in the teaching building and was about to attend the teacher's meeting when my cell phone rang. It was my dad calling. "Hello, Dad." "Yao Yao, Daddy wants to tell you that your mom is angry. I have tried to comfort you for a while, but she is still angry. You should talk to her nicely next time." "Himph, give me the phone and let me talk to her." My mother's voice came from the other end of the line. "Hey, Mom, what's going on? What's wrong? You didn't go to the blind date yesterday, and you asked me what happened." "Mom, I talked to that guy and he agreed not to go." "That's because you said you had a partner, so I didn't go." I calmed down and said, "Mom, I do have a partner. It's not a good idea to go on a blind date again, right? Don't give me that. You were traveling with Winnie some time ago. You were pretending to be nice to me that day. I didn't believe you." "It's true. I'm not lying to you." Dad's voice came from the other end of the phone. "Yao Yao said so it must be true. You just spoil her." "Well, your dad and I will be back soon. You'd better let me meet the person you mentioned." "Mom and Dad, I have to go to a meeting now. I'll hang up now." "Okay, go and do your work first." "Yao Yao, it's okay. Your mother is just concerned about your lifelong event." "Dad, I know." After hanging up the phone, I thought to myself, let's talk about meeting my parents after Shinxingza returns to City A. Then I walked straight to the meeting room. Although I am only a subject teacher, my teaching load is not light. The first week of the new semester has finally passed, and my work is on track, with basically no major problems. Tomorrow is the weekend, and I can finally sleep in and have a good rest. I sorted out the teaching materials on my desk, turned off my computer, and prepared to go home. As soon as I got up, a system notification sound came from my phone. I opened WeChat and saw a message from Shan Qingze. Shin Qingze, are you off work? I'm at the gate of number 1 middle school. When I saw this message, I almost dropped my phone. Didn't Shan Qingze say that his business trip was expected to last half a month? Obviously, Shan Qingze's business trip ended early. I quickly edited a message and sent it over. I'll be out soon. Wait for me, it will be quick. Shin Qingze, don't worry, I'll wait for you. Reply in seconds? My mouth twitched slightly. Our chat records have basically not been connected in the past few days, and replying in seconds like this is even rarer. I stared at the words on the screen, and then I thought that it was sent by Shin Qingze, and I was a little distracted. I came down from the teaching building and walked out of the school gate. At a glance, I saw Shin Qingze standing under the shade of a tree not far away. He was wearing a well-tailored suit, handsome and charming. Seeing that I was staring at him, Shin Qingze smiled. I came back to my senses, a little flustered, and changed the subject casually. You came to number 1 middle school, but didn't you go into the school to take a look? Go and say hello to the principal. Shin Qingze said. Oh. I nodded in response. Shin Qingze opened the passenger door and gestured, get in. I realized that he had driven here by himself. After he got in the car, I asked, why did you drive here by yourself? Didn't we agree that I would pick you up after I came back from my business trip and we would live together in the future? Shin Qingze looked at me. Address? I hurriedly said, it's very close. I'll show you the way. In less than 5 minutes, the car stopped in the underground parking lot. We got into the elevator together and went up to the 10th floor. After getting out of the elevator, I directly pressed my fingerprint to open the door and enter the room. Shin Qingze came in. This was a very simple duplex apartment with 2 floors. The room was very clean and tidy, with a very simple decoration style. The area was not large, but it felt very comfortable here. Please sit down first. I'll pour you a glass of water. Then I'll go pack up and we'll go. I said as I was about to pour tea, but he held my hand and pulled me back. No, can I go upstairs with you? Shin Qingze asked curiously. He wanted to see my bedroom. Yes, I can. He held my hand, and the warmth from his palm was like a fire, flowing down my arm and finally sweeping over my whole body. I felt very hot. Let's go up, but we have to let go of your hands first. Shin Qingze stared at the blush on my face and asked directly, is it because it's inconvenient to go upstairs and we have to let go of each other's hands, or is it not allowed to hold hands? I replied shyly but blurted out, it's inconvenient to go upstairs, but we can hold hands. Shin Qingze smiled and let go of my hand. Chapter 8 First Kiss. When I saw the smile on Shin Qingze's face, my heart was beating fast. I thought that people like him were so serious and rigorous in doing things, and they were called iceberg CEOs by the outside world, and they never smiled. But Shin Qingze's smile just now was so gentle and warm, which completely overturned my impression of him. Oh my God, just because of his smile, I was fascinated again. I quickly looked away and stopped staring at him. Then let's go up together, I said. Shin Qingze said, okay, still staring at me. Seeing my shy and somewhat flustered look, a hint of doting appeared in his eyes. I turned around and went upstairs, and Shin Qingze followed me. When he reached the 2nd floor, he looked around. There were 2 small rooms here, a bedroom and a study. The overall decoration was the same as the 1st floor, simple and fresh. I looked back at Shin Qingze and estimated that he was about 187 centimeters tall. Standing on the 2nd floor, he looked a little depressing. Just pack the things you need for work. I've asked people to prepare everything else at home, said Shin Qingze. Are you all ready? Right. I nodded. Then you sit here for a while. I'll go clean it up. It will be done soon. Shin Qingze smiled and said, you must let me sit down. Can't you let me just look around? No, I just think the house is small and the 2nd floor is low, so I'm afraid you'll feel a little depressed standing there. No, the house is nice and I don't feel depressed. Okay, then you can read whatever you want. After I said that, I took a suitcase and went to the study to start organizing teaching materials, as well as my notebook and tablet. Xingxingzi walked into my bedroom and saw the neatly made bed and the big bear doll on it. The whole room was very warm, very much like my style. After a while, he went to the study. I had just finished packing, zipped up my suitcase, and stood up. With my back to the door, I didn't notice Xingxingzi coming over. I picked up my suitcase and turned to walk out, but ended up bumping into Xingxingzi head-on. I instinctively stepped back, lost my balance, stumbled, and thought I was going to fall, but a pair of strong arms around my waist held me up and stabilized me. It was a good thing that I didn't fall, but I was completely pressed against Xingxingzi's arms, and the warm breath and the faint fragrance of cedar made me feel a little hot. "Be careful," Xingxingzi whispered. "Oh." My throat seemed to be glued, and my voice was a little sticky. I swallowed and asked in a low voice, "Why did you come here suddenly?" "You just said that you would let me look around freely." Xingxingzi lowered his voice slightly and leaned close to my ear and said, "My ears are very sensitive. Even at this distance, I can feel the airflow when talking very clearly. It's as if a fire is burning inside me, getting stronger and stronger. I've finished packing. You let me go first and let's go. Don't you like me hugging you?" "No, I don't dislike it." "If you don't dislike it, then you like it?" I raised my eyes slightly and met Xingxingzi's eyes. After a long while, I shyly replied, I like it." Xingxingzi looked at my red face, which looked like a ripe red apple, making people want to take a bite. He leaned close to my ear and whispered, "I want to kiss you now, can I?" Ah, when I heard this, the fire in my body instantly burst out. "Kiss me?" Xingxingzi said he wanted to kiss me. He was so straightforward. Seeing me stunned, Xingxingzi said, "It's okay, you can." When I said these two words, I felt like my mouth was flying in front and my brain was chasing behind, but it hadn't caught up yet. Xingxingzi heard my answer, raised his hand to hook my chin, gently lifted it up, and his cherry lips were rosy and tender. He didn't hesitate at all and lowered his head to kiss me. I felt the heat on my lips. It was a real kiss. Although Xingxingzi's kissing skills were clumsy, the sweetness and passion made me sink into it. The movements we made on our lips were not even skillful at all, let alone any deeper communication. After a long while, their lips parted. Xingxingzi said frankly, "This is my first time kissing someone. I'm not very experienced, but it will get better in the future." "Well, it's my first time too," I said softly. After saying this, I really couldn't be as calm as Xingxingzi, so I quickly changed the subject. "I've packed everything. Shall we leave?" Xingxingzi hugged my waist tightly, stared at me, and said, "Let's take a photo together." Take a photo? I was puzzled. Why did Xingxingzi suddenly want to take a photo? The transition between what he did before and after was quite big. Cell phone. Use my phone to take the photo? I didn't think much about it. I took out my phone, turned on the camera, and handed it to Xingxingzi. Xingxingzi took a few photos without choosing the angle, just a few clicks. I took the phone, opened the album, and looked at a few photos. I snuggled in Xingxingzi's arms, leaning on his chest, feeling indescribably intimate. Because of Xingxingzi's height, the photos turned out well, but he almost took them straight to his face. However, I have to say that if she is good-looking, any photo she takes will look good. Xingxingzi's face is no problem for the original camera. "Are you okay?" Xingxingzi asked. "Good. If it's good, will you share it on WeChat Moments?" "These photos, are you posting them on WeChat Moments?" "No." Xingxingzi said seriously. "When you and your friends were traveling, you took a lot of photos and posted them on your Moments. It was good that you didn't say anything just now. Is it because I can't show them off?" "Why? Are you sure you want me to send it?" "Very sure." Xingxingzi thought to himself, how could my wife's circle of friends not have photos with me as her husband?